So there's a couple things that's good about Andy Beshear. Andy Beshear, he had won in 2015. He's been the Attorney General. He's been the check on Matt Bevin since he's been in there. So there has been a kind of balance because you had a Republican governor and a Democrat Attorney General. And there's been some conflict. There's been some friction. So Matt Bevin, he's done a number of things, right? He's actually raised taxes on 17 services for the pensions, right? Make sure those judges have $1 million pensions. So Matt Bevin is going to raise taxes on Kentuckians on 17 different services. So there's a good, honest conservative. Somebody raises taxes on 17 services. He also wasted $30 million for international fishing expeditions that went nowhere. $400 million wasted on pension fund managers. Do you have $430 million just to piss away? Well, Matt Bevin does, and it's your taxes. Andy Beshear says the Kentucky government operates in secret, whereas he's all about transparency. So he's saying that we have a secret government in Kentucky right now. Andy Beshear says that Matt Bevin used tax credits to give his company a break while raising taxes on the middle and poor classes of Kentucky. So whereas Matt Bevin is raising the taxes on 17 different services, he's giving himself tax credits for his own company. Well, that's nice of Matt Bevin to make sure he gets even richer, make sure he goes ahead and gets as much money as he can while he's in that office. Instead, the current governor is giving massive tax subsidies to out-of-state CEOs. So out-of-state CEOs is getting a bunch of tax subsidies. He's giving tax credits to his own company, meanwhile raising the taxes on 90% of Kentucky. So under Matt Bevin, Kentucky is near the bottom in the nation for job and wage growth. So that's not very good for, being this great person all about the economy and spurring the economy. So when it comes to wage and job growth, he's in the bottom of the nation. Bevin brags about 50,000 new jobs, which is one job for every 100 Kentuckians. 50,000 new jobs, that's all you did for 3.5 years. So Matt Bevin had signed executive orders cutting university wages, cutting pensions, and Andy Beshear sued him. So Bevin did this by executive order. The pensions, he called it a sewer bill, cutting all those pensions without his permission or the legislature. So even though you may agree or disagree, but Andy Beshear was right. Andy Beshear was right. It was a sewer bill, and the Supreme Court sided with Andy Beshear over Matt Bevin. In order to cut wages across the board like that, you have to get legislative approval. So Andy Beshear sued him, stopped the cuts of university wages, stopped the cuts in the pensions for teachers, judges, road workers. And don't forget, the judges get 100% of whatever their salary was. Teachers get 50% for their retirement, and then the road workers get 10%. So there's a nice little tiered system there. So Andy Beshear has been standing up to Matt Bevin. Matt Bevin said he's going to subpoena teachers, and then Andy Beshear says, go ahead, Matt Bevin, go ahead and subpoena the teachers, and I'll see you in court. So, that's been Andy Beshear has been the Attorney General, and he's been keeping Matt Bevin at bay. Andy Beshear has also released his tax returns. He also seems to care. He's not really razzle-dazzle. He's about as exciting as a stick, right? Andy Beshear, he heard that for people compare Adam Edelin lost his auditor's race, so they're saying, why can you be the governor when Andy Beshear won the Attorney General race? Andy Beshear was able to win because of his last name, and therefore he had, he coasted in there. He said that he was against child abuse. He's the son of a former governor, Steve Beshear, who was in there for 8 years. So can he do the job? Maybe, maybe not. Baby Beshear, he's got a lot of he cares about the kids. He cares about poor kids. He said that he talked to one poor Kentuckian, and he said that for Christmas, all the poor Kentucky kid wanted was for the lights to be turned back on. So we're cutting off electricity for these poor folks, and he seems to give a damn, okay? So Andy Beshear, some good things about him. He's pro-choice, pro-Roe v. Wade. He will fight for gay folks. He's in favor of casinos, and he thinks that climate change is real, okay? So these are all good things. Pro-choice, that's against Matt Bevin. He'll fight for gay folks. That's against Matt Bevin. He's for casinos. That's against Bevin. Climate change is real. That's against Bevin, too. So he has a lot. Make a comment about the casinos. Steve Beshear ran on casinos. He ran on one issue, and he didn't get it. The House didn't put it on amendment. It never got voted for, so everybody just keeps on saying, put it on the ballot, put it on the ballot. Jesus fucking Christ. Can somebody just stand up and say, you know, if you could do executive orders here and there, why can't you do executive orders for this? You should be asking the Kentucky people about 10 questions every year. Kentucky people should have 10 questions every year that they have to answer, but the government has nothing but contempt for the Kentucky people, so they don't ask them anything. So when it comes to the casinos, Steve Beshear already promised us casinos. He promised us casinos. He was in there for 8 years. Not only did we not get casinos, but we didn't get the amendment. And who's going to profit off of casinos? The casino owners, the House, right? So it's not going to be ordinary, average Kentuckians. What, the Kentucky people need to rally around casinos and push the legislature and get it on the ballot and vote for it and then get it legal? What the hell? It's not going to help much of anything. It's actually probably going to prey on vulnerable, poor Kentucky folks. But it's deja vu all over again. We've already heard of a Beshear promising Kentuckians to get a casino. We've already Maybe Beshear has been a stopgap. He's been a buffer. He has tempered Matt Bevin's extremism, but he hasn't been able to stop, you know, his right to work and his heartbeat bill. So when it comes to his pro-choice views, he could correct Kentucky and put them in, you know, a better place. Liberal laws, if you have education, contraception, and liberal laws on abortion, you'll have less abortions. So Andy Beshear, there's a lot of problems with Andy Beshear, okay? So he's very boring. He doesn't inspire anybody. He voted for Hillary Clinton. He didn't say he held his nose when he voted for Hillary Clinton. When he looked at the national Democrats for president, he couldn't say that he liked any of them. Not Elizabeth Warren, not Mike Gravel, not Tulsi, not Bernie. Well, they're progressive, so of course he can't say that he's in favor of the progressives. West Virginia and Indiana are Bernie Sanders states, but Kentucky is a Hillary Clinton state, which means the Democrats are Republicans there. That's why he opposes recreational marijuana. That's why he opposes free college. That's why, you know, he's opposed to recreational marijuana. He says that he wants some medical marijuana. He'll sign it today if it was put in front of him, but he thinks it has to go by with Andy Beshear or Rocky Atkins or Adam Edelin talking about medical marijuana. It's already fucking legal in Kentucky. Medical marijuana is already legal, CBD, right? If we're just going to say there's some medical marijuana that's legal, it is CBD. So if you're going to legalize marijuana, what are you talking about? You're going to expand it to insomnia, anxiety, depression so the general public can get it? No, you're just going to limit it just like you did with CBD, right? It's going to be CBD and it's going to be one other thing. Don't act like you're in favor of marijuana. He opposes recreational marijuana because he's not in favor of freedom. He doesn't believe that we have a right to our own body. So there's, you know, some medical marijuana. He believes in some medical marijuana, but it doesn't sound like he's going to get it passed. It sounds like the casino things with him and his dad. He's not going to get casinos. He's not going to get medical marijuana. When it comes to free college, the question was prefaced that Bernie Sanders wanted free college, and he never answered the question. He didn't even say that he wanted Rocky Atkins free community and technical schools. So Rocky Atkins had at least one progressive idea, free community and technical schools. But when it came to Baby Beshear, he says he wanted Andy Beshear just wanted more scholarships. He just wanted universal pre-K education. So are we going to get free college? No, but your 4-year-olds will have a place to go. Okay, does that help much? When it comes to scholarships, that kind of helps here and there, but to sit there and say that you're not for free college, you're not for free community or technical schools, when Rocky Atkins is in favor of it. So he sucks when it comes to college. He sucks when it comes to recreational marijuana. He also sucks when it comes to health care. Okay, I'm going to get to that in a second. So I just want to read all these things so that way I give a nice, you know, beautiful little overview of who Andy Beshear is. Andy Beshear brags about getting justice for victims of rape and sexual assault. It's obvious, of course, rape is repulsive, so it seems like, oh, I got justice for victims of murder. I got justice for victims of grand theft. Well, good. I mean, that's great. But it's obvious, it's not really a bragging point. It's like when Bevin brags about 50,000 jobs. Okay, that's, you know, better than zero, right? It's better than them not getting justice. But if you're only getting justice for the worst crimes, what about the lesser crimes? You know, you're going to go after people Really liked that Andy Beshear had run on stopping child abuse. He said that child abuse was one of his staples. There was like 3 issues he talked about. Child abuse was one of them. What about corporal punishment? That's an assault. When you put an assault upon a child, then that's violence, right? So is it okay to smack a man or a woman? Can you attack a man or a woman? No, there's like 3rd degree, 4th degree, all these different degrees of assaults. So to act like some innocent little kid getting hit on their little tiny body, you act like that's acceptable? That's bullshit. It's bullshit. So when he brags about child abuse, he's not talking about violence. He's not talking about corporal punishment. He says that he tripled the number of child predators in jail. That's good. He helped to ban child marriage in Kentucky, there used to be child marriage in Kentucky. I mean, I guess they made sex with animals illegal too, but both of those things are good things. But again, it just seems like he's bragging about the very worst criminals he's been able to do something about. But what about the culture of Kentucky? You allowed to smack your kids around? Is that something? Is that a nice good afternoon for a Kentucky family? And then Bevin is a bully, so he's right when he criticizes that Bevin's a bully, but when they ask if Donald's a bully, he's like, well, I don't want to make it about national. So he says name calling is always wrong, which is, it is abusive. Name calling is pretty abusive. You call someone an asshole, right? Is Donald a bully? That's kind of name calling, right? Bevin's a bully, but I guess you could name call a name caller. There's justice to that. So he's not showing courage when it comes to criticizing, probably the worst president we've ever had in our lifetimes. Andy's running mate is Jacqueline, a school teacher, and she's beautiful and she speaks really well. So really, if she had a, progressive platform, she would be a better candidate than Andy Beshear. Andy Beshear says he's for higher wages. He says he's for public education. So just saying one thing, and then what's your plan? What's your economic plan? What are you going to do when it comes to education? They believe in totalitarian schools. They believe that public education should be a monopoly. School choice will force public education to improve. Competition makes things better. You want public education to get better? It sucks right now. It's Prussian industrial. It's archaic. It's an old school model. Shut up, sit down, listen to the bells like you're working in a factory. You're not the but a worker bee. You're going to be free. You're not going to be independent. Sorry, kid. Sorry, kid. You're not going to be free and you're not going to be independent. Get back into that school. If you're a Huckleberry Finn, no Huckleberry Finns in Kentucky. So he highlights the opioid epidemic. He fights against the drug companies. What about the older folks who are in pain and need their medicine, who needs Percocet, Vicodin, and Oxycontin? So he acts like he's going to stop the opioids, right? He's for the war on drugs, but I guarantee it won't work. It hasn't worked for 50 years. 4 years from now, if Beshear's governor, Kentucky will still have the problems with drugs. The only thing you can do with drugs is reduce the harm. That's all you can do, reduce the harm. Are we there yet? Have we got there yet? Are we reducing the harm? No, we're still going to go ahead and, use violence and terrorism and go ahead and create a profit incentive so a bunch of people can make a shit ton of money. A bunch of fucking gangsters can make a shit ton of money. That's all the war on drugs has done. So he's not in favor of universal health care. He talks about health care. He's like a Rocky Atkins, He says Bevin shouldn't be ripping health care from thousands of Kentucky families. He's for the Medicaid expansion. But when he talks about health care, he's talking about there's a lot of different, there's some good ideas, some bad ideas. I'd like to see a nice developed plan, a nice developed economic plan. Health care is a basic right. He says that all Kentuckians deserve access to affordable health care. Well, that's not universal health care now, is it? He's fighting for something about pre-existing conditions, eliminating health coverage for 1.3 million Kentuckians. So he's sick of Matt Bevin, kicking people off of health care, but he's not talking about universal health care. He's saying that he's just going to get the Medicaid program up and working again. So you're just going to use that which is in place, which is common sense. It's common sense. If you want to fix the sickness of Kentucky, then you would get them universal health care. You waiting for Donald to get universal health care? You'll wait 1,000,000 years. You will not get universal health care under Beshear. He wants to, he talks about wages. He talks about getting good jobs. His vision for growing economy, he says, doesn't depend on massive giveaways for wealthy out-of-state CEOs, but he wants to develop a workforce. So a lot of cheap labor, that's what he wants, a lot of cheap labor. What about small businesses? What about entrepreneurs? In order to live in America, you got to have a job or you got to have a business. You got to make Beshear isn't talking about getting small businesses and entrepreneurs some seeding money and giving Kentuckians an opportunity, right? Have some sort of competition. The best idea gets, $50,000, $30 million. You could split that up and actually start helping Kentuckians develop their own small businesses. So he's not good when it comes to his economics. He's missing an entire group of people. He's weak on marijuana, right? So you won't get freedom under a Beshear administration. He's weak on universal health care. He does believe in term limits. So that might be the only thing that I really agree with. The other things that I do agree with, it just seems like, God, we're this far into the 21st century. It's almost 2020, and we're still defending gay rights. So those things are good, and they're much better than Matt Bevin, but it's like you're barely giving us, you're throwing us a bone, right? You're just saying, hey, I'm a little bit better than Matt Bevin, and we're supposed to just, rally to Baby Beshear's side. He believes in term limits for all Kentucky officials. That's a great idea. Get some new blood in there. So I like the idea of term limits for Kentucky officials. Is he going to pass a law? How's he going to do it, right? If you're a charismatic person, then you could get the legislature to do whatever. He won't help public education. He'll help the teachers and the careerists. That's all the teachers are. They're a bunch of careerists. They got power, they got money, and then they take all the power and money away from the children. If you had vouchers, give vouchers to the parents, and then that gives the power to the parents and the students. You want to give us a good education, then, better make sure you give us a good education. You want our money, then you better give us a good education. So whereas he fights for gay folks, he's opposed to child abuse, he says climate change is real, he's in favor of casinos, he's pro-choice. These are all real good things. He's pro-Roe v. Wade. These are good things. Okay, he's already released his tax returns, whereas Bevin hasn't. So when it comes to contrasting him with Matt Bevin, there's a strong contrast when it comes to the policies. But there's also a lot of holes. There's a lot of holes. He's not for freedom. He's not for school choice, so public education ain't going to get fixed. He's weak on marijuana. He's weak on universal health care. So the term limits I like, and the other things I mentioned I like. Now, overall, Baby Beshear is not inspiring. He's like a piece of driftwood. So you get a piece of driftwood, and then, that's Andy Beshear. If you look at actually how this entire campaign has gone, look at Wikipedia. If you listen to Matt Jones, all these fucking pricks are saying, is Allison Grimes going to run? Is Jamie Comer going to run? Is Atticus Scott going to run? Wikipedia, Matt Jones, they both did the same thing. So they're looking at other people that might be, decent candidates, and they're saying, are you going to run? So they're fishing for these new candidates when you have a bright, qualified, intelligent, passionate, progressive radical right in front of you, Jeff Young. But instead of embracing the progressive, they treat him like shit. They discriminate against him because he's a progressive. They're a bunch of Republican Democrats, so a progressive, just absolutely insults who they are as people. Kentucky should be embarrassed of themselves, especially Democrats. They act like they're opposed to discrimination, but they're not. If you're a regular Kentucky person, then they wouldn't allow you to go to debates. They wouldn't allow you to get any of the coverage. They don't want anybody to know about you. They don't want anybody to think that you might be more electable than them. So these are just, institutional pricks. They get the jobs. So overall, what are we going to do? What is Kentucky going to do? Kentucky, do you want to beat Matt Bevin? Really want to beat Matt Bevin. Matt Bevin is charismatic. Matt Bevin is a radical. You're going to need a leftist, charismatic radical. You're going to need a Jeff Young progressive with Adam Edelin's charisma, but not Baby Beshear. Baby Beshear's a nice guy, parts his hair off to the side, has decent views about this and that, but he's not exciting. He's not inspiring. And so Matt Jones is going to give Kentucky back to Matt Bevin. Well, okay, it's just going to be a referendum. He asked in the debate, say something nice about Matt, and made DEM say something nice about Bevin during the debates. What good is that, right? He said that he didn't want the debate to just be a referendum on Bevin. So Matt Jones is a piece of shit, and he's going to fuck up Kentucky. Jeff Young is the Bernie Sanders of Kentucky, you stupid, loudmouth, dumbass prick, fucking Matt Jones, right? So only a charismatic left-wing radical could beat a right-wing charismatic radical. Only a Bernie Sanders could beat a Matt Bevin. So only the charisma of Adam Edelin combined with Jeff Young. You have some good ideas with, Andy Beshear, but you have a lot of bad ideas, and he's not inspiring. He's not going to get the people to go out to the polls. Democratic Party in Kentucky is on the ropes. If the Democrats lose this governor's race, there's no more Democrat Party. There's no opposition party whatsoever. So there's a couple more. There's like 300,000 more Democrats and Republicans, 1.5 million versus 1.2 million, but it keeps going down. Both of the houses have super Republican majorities. So super Republican majorities, Republicans all over the place. Where are the Democrats? There's no progressives to speak of. There's not even Democrats to speak of. So Matt Bevin can be beaten from the right, from a charismatic, principled libertarian like John Hicks. John Hicks could beat Matt Bevin, but if it's going to come from the Democratic Party, you're going to need a charismatic left-wing radical. Democrats aren't libertarians. So again, a charismatic left-wing radical is the only people that can beat a right-wing charismatic radical. And when it comes to Andy Beshear, he's a statue. He's a piece of driftwood. He's a hollowed-out tree. A good slogan for Andy Beshear's campaign would be, let's make politics boring again. And even if that was better, that inspires nobody. So he has to get more people out to vote than the other guy. Andy Beshear will lose to Matt Bevin. Mark my words, Kentucky. If you pick Andy Beshear, Matt